General Hospital will reveal exciting events for the next 2 weeks from May 19th to May 30th, 2025. First, in the emotionally charged weeks to come on General Hospital, from May 19th to May 30th, the tension in Port Charles will intensify as several storylines converge under the spotlight of the nurses' ball and the courtroom. Willow finds herself at the center of it all, grappling with a pivotal decision that could alter not only her life but the fate of her entire family. Despite her gentle demeanor and strong moral compass, the mounting pressure from Sunny, who pleads with her to postpone the custody hearing until Michael can recover enough to make a public appearance, begins to wear her down. Sunny's request comes with emotional weight, but Willow's instincts tell her that delaying the court proceedings could place Jocelyn in an even more precarious position. The burden of navigating between loyalty, justice, and maternal protection pushes Willow toward a crossroads that could change her dynamic with the Corinthos family forever. Meanwhile, a dangerous grudge begins to fester in the heart of Emma, who has been quietly nursing wounds inflicted by the betrayal she perceives from Jocelyn. Once the innocent daughter of 2 celebrated doctors, Emma has undergone a subtle but undeniable transformation, her presence now tinged with quiet resolve and a need for vengeance. She begins crafting a plan, not of immediate confrontation, but of calculated retaliation, one that may expose Jocelyn's deepest vulnerabilities. Emma has been watching from the shadows, collecting secrets, unraveling patterns, and waiting for her moment. As she prepares to strike during the chaos of the nurses' ball, her timing couldn't be more perfect. With the press, public, and hospital staff distracted by the glamour and glitz, Emma's scheme has the potential to unfold in the most public and humiliating fashion imaginable. Carly, ever the protector, grows increasingly suspicious of Vaughn, a man who has quietly positioned himself within their inner circle under the guise of support and trust. Her maternal instincts and past betrayals push her to dig deeper, sensing something off about his motivations. Vaughn, with his polished exterior and calculated charm, manages to avoid raising red flags with most of the Corinthos clan, but not with Carly. She confronts him with subtle but piercing questions, seeking to unravel the truth without tipping her hand. Carly's investigation begins to reveal inconsistencies in Vaughn's past, and the more she uncovers, the more certain she becomes that he isn't who he claims to be. Her quest for truth is no longer just about protecting Willow or Michael, it's about dismantling a threat that has embedded itself dangerously close to her family. Elsewhere, Nina finds herself spiraling after a public outburst leads her to slap Carly, a moment of raw emotion triggered by Carly's attempt to remove Willow's children from her reach. Although Nina tries to justify her behavior, the incident leaves her rattled and exposed. Forced to regain her composure for her co-hosting duties at the nurses' ball, Nina must now smile for the cameras and walk the red carpet with Drew, the very man she secretly resents for being Carly's ally and emotional anchor. The tension between them simmers beneath every scripted line and posed photo, a silent battle of wills playing out in the limelight. Nina's rage, though momentarily hidden, threatens to boil over at any second, and her struggle to maintain the facade only amplifies her inner torment. Second, as turmoil brews beneath the surface in Port Charles, Portia finds herself increasingly isolated, both emotionally and within her marriage. The once steadfast bond she shared with Curtis now teeters on the edge of collapse, weighed down by the latest round of secrets she has kept hidden from him. In her quiet moments at General Hospital, when her professional mask slips and her thoughts drift to the unraveling of her personal life, Portia is unaware that someone has been listening. Isaiah, observant and empathetic, overhears her expressing doubts about her relationship and the toll that deception has taken on her conscience. Though their prior interactions have been brief, Isaiah recognizes the pain in Portia's voice, and with quiet resolve, he approaches her not as a colleague or confidant of the past, but simply as someone willing to be there if she needs a friend. His offer is genuine, unburdened by romantic expectation, but in her vulnerable state, Portia finds a small measure of solace in his kindness. Yet even as Isaiah reaches out with compassion, Portia cannot ignore the deepening fractures within her marriage. Curtis, whose trust in her has already been tested once before, now wrestles with a storm of his own. The tension with Drew escalates, culminating in a bitter argument over a blackmail scheme that has drawn them both into dangerous territory. Curtis, a man long known for his sense of honor and loyalty, now finds those values compromised by the choices of those closest to him. In his eyes, Drew's involvement only adds more complications to an already tangled web of loyalties, but the real issue lies closer to home, with Portia. Her latest betrayal is not rooted in malice, but in fear and misplaced protection, yet to Curtis, it feels like a pattern that will never end. The real weight pressing down on Curtis is not just the knowledge that Portia has lied again, but the question of whether he can continue living with someone who refuses to be fully honest with him. His love for her remains, but it is no longer blind. Each revelation chips away at the foundation of their marriage, and Curtis begins to question if forgiveness is even possible without transparency. The memories of their vows, of promises made to start anew after the Trina paternity lie, resurface with painful irony. Now, with the same cycle repeating itself, Curtis stands at a crossroads, knowing that whatever decision he makes next will shape not only his marriage but his sense of self-worth. Portia, torn between the fear of losing Curtis and the shame of her dishonesty, begins to question the very motivations that led her to lie. She had hoped to shield him, to keep their already fragile life from falling apart again, but in doing so, she has only hastened its destruction. Her conversations with Isaiah begin to reveal more about her inner turmoil than she initially intended, and it becomes clear that what she craves most is understanding. Not just from Curtis, but from someone who sees her as more than a wife or a mother, someone who recognizes the complexity of her choices. Isaiah listens without judgment, and in doing so, offers Portia something she hasn't felt in a long time: emotional safety. Third, in a town built on secrets and silences, few revelations carry the explosive potential of a hidden child. As the nurses' ball approaches, Port Charles braces for what may become one of its most shocking unmaskings in recent memory. Lulu, recently awakened from a long and complicated slumber, has returned with a sharper instinct for truth than ever before. Her reunion with Cody has not only rekindled a sense of purpose but has also placed her on a path of quiet investigation, one that leads directly to the tangled roots of Giovanni's mysterious adoption. Beneath Joe's charm and musical talent lies a truth obscured for years, one that ties him irrevocably to two central figures in town, Brooke Lynn and Dante. While many have long suspected that Joe's placement with adoptive parents came under strange circumstances, no one has been able to piece together the timeline, until now. Lulu's involvement isn't by accident. There's something deeply personal at stake. Perhaps it's her past with Dante that compels her, or perhaps it's her mother's legacy as a relentless truth-seeker that lives on through her. Whatever the motivation, Lulu begins connecting fragments others have ignored. Small details. A medical file inconsistency, a passing mention from Lois, a stray comment from Tracy, begin to form a pattern. As she pulls Cody into her web of discovery, he too begins to see the logic behind the chaos. Cody, who has long been underestimated, now finds himself in the position to either protect the fragile balance Dante and Brooke Lynn have fought to maintain, or to support Lulu in lifting the veil from a long-buried truth. Gio, for his part, remains oblivious to the storm brewing around him. Focused on his performance at the nurses' ball and caught in the emotional weight of adolescence and identity, he does not yet realize that the night meant to celebrate his achievements may also be the night that changes the course of his life. All signs suggest that Brooke Lynn and Dante will be blindsided by a revelation they thought had been locked away forever. For years, they had agreed, out of fear, shame, or misguided protection, to keep the truth about Gio hidden. Now, that decision is unraveling with increasing speed, and neither of them is prepared for the fallout. The question that looms largest is whether Lulu will be the catalyst who brings the truth crashing into the spotlight, or if Cody, still wrestling with the moral consequences of his past deceptions, will intervene to shield Gio from the kind of chaos that defined his own youth. There's a part of Cody that sympathizes deeply with Gio. An understanding of what it means to live a life built on half-truths and questions unanswered. That empathy may push him to act, to either delay the revelation or soften its blow. Yet time is running out. The nurses' ball looms, and with it, the perfect storm of public attention, family presence, and emotional vulnerability. Fourth, as the spotlight glows and the crowd gathers for the highly anticipated nurses' ball in Port Charles, chaos brews just beneath the surface, threatening to shatter the elegant facade of this beloved annual event. For Lucy, the pressure is unbearable. What was supposed to be a glamorous celebration of charity and community is suddenly teetering on the edge of collapse as she scrambles to contain a crisis that threatens to derail the entire evening. The nature of the emergency remains closely guarded, but whispers hint at a major logistical failure involving one of the headlining acts, possibly Joe's set being jeopardized by last-minute sabotage or miscommunication. Lucy, with her trademark flair and rising panic, must pivot quickly to keep the evening intact, drawing on every ounce of her organizational prowess while masking her dread with a performer's smile. Her years of experience may save the show from disaster, but this year's ball is unlike any other, and the stakes have never been higher. Amid the backstage turmoil, Anna operates with the cool efficiency of a woman on a covert mission. Her movements are precise, her presence nearly undetectable as she weaves through the crowd under the pretense of elegance. While many speculate that Anna is simply keeping an eye on the event, those who know her well sense something more. A plan unfolding with layers of secrecy. Her true objective? The takedown of Jen Sidwell, a powerful figure whose reach has extended too far into Port Charles. With Mac temporarily exhaling in relief, believing Anna to be playing it safe, he remains unaware that she's executing a high-risk maneuver designed to expose Jen's criminal ties. Every detail of her operation has been timed to the nurses' ball, a night when all eyes are distracted and the city's elite are gathered under one roof. If Anna succeeds, Jen's empire could crumble. If she fails, she risks everything, including the trust of those she's sworn to protect. Elsewhere, Carly's instincts as a mother kick into overdrive the moment she lays eyes on Vaughn. With her daughter's well-being constantly on her mind and a long history of protecting her children from danger, Carly immediately becomes suspicious of the stranger who appears to be circling Jocelyn. At first glance, Vaughn seems charming, respectful, and poised. Perhaps even the kind of man Carly might have once considered for herself. But the protective barrier around her heart refuses to lower. Something doesn't sit right, and Carly begins asking questions that Vaughn is reluctant to answer. Her assumption that he might be romantically interested in Jocelyn sends her down the wrong path, blinding her to the deeper reality. Vaughn isn't a suitor, he's a handler, a carefully placed WSB operative tasked with guiding Jocelyn through a covert mission. Jocelyn's decision to accept this assignment has remained tightly sealed, even from her mother, but the tension building between Carly and Vaughn threatens to expose the entire operation before it's ready to unfold. Meanwhile, on the other side of town, another mother-daughter relationship unravels under the weight of hidden truths and dangerous alliances. Alexis, long caught between ethics and survival, has been concealing her involvement in Cassadine financial crimes for months. Ostensibly to protect Christina from the fallout. But Christina, growing more intuitive and less trusting, starts to notice odd behavior from Ava, whose veiled comments and passive-aggressive gestures hint at something darker. A mishap involving a sabotaged vehicle nearly costs Christina her life, and while everyone writes it off as bad luck, she begins to suspect otherwise. When she stumbles across a hint that Ava may have tampered with the car, the realization is staggering. But the real shock comes when Christina uncovers evidence that Alexis may have known all along and kept it hidden to preserve her own carefully managed relationship with Rick Lansing. Finally, after the curtain falls and the applause fades from the final performance of the nurses' ball, a different kind of drama begins to unfold behind closed doors in Port Charles, one laced with emotional stakes, clandestine intentions, and secrets clawing their way to the surface. For Carly, the end of the night marks not closure, but a new dilemma. A surprise offer lands at her feet, and while its source remains unconfirmed, speculation arises that it may come from Willow herself, potentially an olive branch extended in the hope of reaching some kind of truce before the custody hearing ignites into a full-blown legal war. The offer, should Carly choose to entertain it, could de-escalate the ongoing tension, but Carly, forever the warrior when it comes to protecting her children, may not be ready to let down her guard. The wounds are still too raw, the motive still too murky, and the threat of another betrayal too real. She could easily turn away from compromise, letting the case proceed as planned with the determination to secure her grandchildren's future in court. As Carly wrestles with that decision, Jason receives a cryptic phone call that pulls him further into the shadows. The voice on the other end is veiled, calculated, and unwilling to offer clarity, but the implications are severe. There's an immediate mention of an attack, one not only targeting Sonny's penthouse in Port Charles but also his temporary location in Los Angeles. The coordinated nature of these events suggests that Sonny has become the target of something far larger than a personal vendetta. Jason, whose instincts remain razor-sharp despite his long absence, knows this is no coincidence. The timing of the call, coming right as public attention is diverted to the nurses' ball, indicates that whoever is behind the threat has chosen their moment with surgical precision. The following week, from May 26th to May 30th, becomes a race against time as Jason traces the faint trails left behind by the mysterious informant, uncovering a plot that could reshape the Corinthos empire and endanger everyone within its orbit. Meanwhile, the custody war grows in complexity. With the potential for a full courtroom showdown, Rick, Willow, and Drew begin urgent strategy meetings. They must prepare not only legal arguments but also emotional defenses, knowing Carly will fight with everything she has. Diane stands firmly at Carly's side, and together, the two formidable women form a legal wall reinforced by maternal instinct and deep-seated resentment. Every conversation, every document, every motion becomes a tactical maneuver in a battle that's becoming less about the children and more about who holds power in the wake of Michael's absence. Carly's resolve is only strengthened by the perceived betrayal, and her sights are fixed on total victory, even if it risks fracturing the family further. Elsewhere, the revelation of Joe's parentage detonates like a bomb, sending emotional shrapnel through every branch of the Quartermaine, Falconeri, and Cerullo families. Brooke Lynn is devastated and furious, turning her rage toward Lois, whose decades-long deception now seems unforgivable. The pain of having been robbed of 22 years with her son manifests as blame, resentment, and confusion. Dante, too, reels from the discovery. His trust in Brooke Lynn wavers, and while he tries to maintain composure for Joe's sake, the betrayal cuts deep. Amid the fallout, Lulu, who played a critical role in uncovering the truth, becomes a flashpoint. Whether driven by a desire to protect Gio or to assert herself after years of silence, her actions threaten to unravel fragile bonds and restart long-dormant rivalries. Gio, the unsuspecting center of it all, is left trying to piece together an identity he never knew was his. Raised with one understanding of who he was and where he came from, the sudden discovery of his true lineage sends him spiraling. Questions about why he was given up, who made that decision, and whether his entire life has been a lie consume him. The people who claimed to love him, Brooke Lynn, Dante, and even Lois, now were the stain of manipulation. Gio may not be ready to accept them as his parents. The betrayal is too fresh, the truth too twisted. And as he struggles to process this shock, he begins to consider walking away from them entirely, carving out a path defined not by blood, but by choice. Adding another layer of tension, Emma continues to plot her retaliation against Jocelyn. Losing the research assistant position still stings, and Emma is convinced that Jocelyn used underhanded tactics to win the opportunity. Her plan to expose Jocelyn is elaborate, hinging on carefully planted evidence and perfectly timed reveals. But Emma, for all her intelligence and resolve, may have underestimated the scope of the operation surrounding Jocelyn. Unknown to her, Jocelyn's involvement in a secret WSB assignment is far more dangerous and delicate than anyone suspects. Vaughn, her handler, is under strict orders to protect the mission at all costs, even if that means neutralizing internal threats. If Emma's revenge threatens the integrity of the operation, the WSB could intervene swiftly and without warning, forcing Emma into a situation far more precarious than she anticipated.